So here we are looking at building to a fourth run just when we thought she was done. After the third one, we're like, we don't expect to have anything more. Look her over after the third one, so you know what? I think with just a little bit of elbow grease and a little bit of wiring correction, I think she's got another one in her. So what we're gonna do here to start, well, we still got her on the trailer. We're gonna use probably my tow rope, and I'm gonna wrap it around the caravan bumper there, and I'm gonna try to just pull that out so I can get to not only the wire that's behind, and if you saw my Derby Aftermath video, pressed up in there. Here we go. And I think I got a bad ground somewhere, or I got a wire that got cut into there, and it's kind of freaking the system out. So before we look to go from the starter, we want to make sure that wiring is all good. And I also want to pull that down and just anchor the rear end with my straps so the car's in a good spot, doesn't move. And then we'll actually tie her to the back of the truck. I'm going to hook it here and pull it down. Half a winch doesn't work, so it'd be great if it did. So I want to pull that down so I can only get that wire out of there, but then I'll cut, I mean, maybe with my Sawzall, but I think I'm going to use the grinder, and I got to get a new blade, or a wheel for it rather. And we're going to try to cut as flush as we can on the rail there, and the same thing on the other side, and then we'll pull out the front end. So she got 3 good runs. She got 3 first places. She actually was still running, but I ran it in the junk feature after the main feature. It was right after mine, and she was still going good until we were going nose to nose at the end, and she folded up in, and that's whenever I had a wire get cut into, I think. So I'm going to try to pull her out, and then we'll pull out the little bit of the core support there. I don't believe the tranny's damaged. This line is, but that's not a big deal. I think right there it just got cut into a little bit. It was seeping out the rest of the night whenever it's sitting on the trailer, so we'll shorten that up. So that's step one. We're going to pull down, anchor the rear end, pull down the front caravan bumper there so we can get into the wiring and see if we can figure out where the wires cut into, where my bad ground is, whatever it is. And then we'll clean up the nose and go from there. So here we go. 4th run. Why not? She's got a lot of life left. Just a quick look. Again, the back end didn't press in too much air. I'm going to lift once I get her off and in the garage and beat that up in that there so it's not dragging. Probably try to beat a little bit around the wheels again. This one over here, spare tire took a hit. You can see how it's pressed in. Again, make your tires hard. Fill them up hard as they can with air. 50 pounds is what I usually run. You can see it's even cut into a little bit, but not all the way through. Try to beat in around the fenders a little bit, and otherwise that's it. Just gotta get the nose straightened out. So here we go. Prep starting for run 4 possibly. Tough old girl. So there you have it. There's our culprit. A 20 amp fuse popped. There's a new one we're gonna put in. So I used my tow rope in my truck to pull her down, hit it with the sledge too, here on each side to just kind of pull it back down. And I'm like, the wiring against the spray foam, obviously you can get it behind, tucked in is good. In fact, this next run, I'll cut through kind of the core support part here on each side, and I'll get that wiring up and in, and then I'll spray foam it again. But the spray foam, the wiring wasn't cut or anything at all on either side. Just to show that one, you can see I'm trying to pull it down. I think I might just try to fill with like screws and metal, and then weld that, and then kind of weld the bumper again, because I think that's as good as I'm going to get. I'm going to maybe cut it. We'll see. But yeah, that was it right there. 20 amp fuse, killed all power whenever you turn it over. So we're going to change it out and get her off the trailer back into the garage. So just to get on camera, the "here, you're an idiot" part of usually every time I work on a derby car, and why I earn my demolition noobs. So I mentioned how the tranny line was slightly cut. So I replaced the fuse, and she sure enough fired right up after I bent down and pulled out with the tow strap, the core support, which I might actually cut off. We'll see there, the bottom part of it, because it serves no purpose. And I wasn't even thinking that as soon as I hit pressure that, what's it gonna do? It's gonna be shooting out. So sure enough, I mean, I not only just missed soaking my truck as the pressure hit, and you can see how it squirted out, but I just wasted like, I don't know, a half a quarter tranny fluid. So I'll cut that, before I start up and move it again to get it in the shed before the rain comes. But I'll cut it above that and I'll re-loop it together like I should have done before I started it and put pressure to it and shot out a ton of tranny fluid. So just to get it on camera, after all these derby cars and even successful runs and all the time put in, I'm still an idiot at times. Whoops. So we've got her off the trailer and back into, again, my father-in-law's pole barn. And I just wanted to point this out. When you're looking, you can see how the back rear, the left here, it's a little bit catty corner, the left pressed a little bit further in, and it's pressed through the strut a little bit. So I think that's why I was kind of bouncing the last part of my run. I wasn't sure exactly what was going on. And you can just see how she's buckling. Tough old girl. But we do think we have a fourth run. So there's a derby not far from us. The track's pretty hard. So I think it'll be a good one. And there's the correct way, I should say, of running your transmission. Again, I just cut probably about 5 inches off. And then again, just use my piece there and tighten her down tight. So that's fixed. Again, pulled down the bumper. I don't think I'm going to try to do it anymore. I am, though, like I said, going to cut through the kind of side there, the core support there, the front part of that sheet metal, the bottom. Don't need any of that nonsense. The bottom of the core support, it's just there. And then I'll try to fill and patch both sides as best I can. But the big thing right now, door shot. I took a good door shot with the side of a bumper. That was kind of a dangerous hit. I looked at I believe it was a young lady toward the latter part of the derby. Was like, hey, getting door hit's not a huge deal, but you put the corner of the bumper in there, that's dangerous. But not a big deal. Had my pad in there and she wasn't going too hard. But we'll take this wheel off and try to beat up and away, kind of like roll it in as much as I can so that that's kind of out of the way. And then same thing over here, but this one doesn't really have too much. It's pretty much exactly like it was. Might do it a little bit there. But a big thing is we're going to secure our fuel lines better, not only with zip ties underneath, but I'll also spray foam this time in around there, especially with it mangled up so much and with it likely to be dragging, at least like back here. Again, my fuel lines are coming up in there, so I'm not worried about that, but don't want them to be hanging down like they currently are. Then again, we'll beat around the back of the wheels, try to get them as much beat up in. This one here, as I said, it's a little bit pressed in, but that tire's flat and she's as small as she can be. So that's her here, final stage, and should be pretty much good to go. Just welding, take her back into my garage and weld it. So final kind of prep, a fourth run we believe is just a handful of days away. See how we can get her straightened out. So just to show an update, we got again the wires over there inside. I just cut a thin slit there with my Sawzall carefully and then slid those wires in. I'll spray foam on the inside and I kind of pulled them back there some so they're out of the way and clear that frame rail so I can re-weld that and she folds up, not an issue. Over here, I just cut this little piece off here and I didn't need to cut through because turns out I found again my bad wire. I had 4 or 5 of these guys were cut into. They were tucked in behind here. Again, I just have the stock wiring running out front. You can see now I have it behind the line there for the looped radiator. But whenever this folded back, it cut into 5 of those and that's what blew my fuse. So, in her defense, it was the 3rd run and it was even a run after the 3rd run. So technically her 4th run do I fold her up and in. So when she was going nose to nose. So all I did is I actually cut through the rest of them and I took the wire out and slid it back behind. And then I just carefully looped them back and duct tape them. And now I just check to make sure everything fired up. So I'll duct tape that tight together so everything's there, and then I'll secure it back along the motor. Again, I don't have any pulleys pulling as I don't have a strap. You can't really see, but my belt rather came off there. The alternator belt's down in the back. That's the only belt that I have on it right now. So good news, we found the reason why we blew our fuse, and I think we got her all cleaned up, and we got the wires behind there. So we're gonna spray foam a little bit up front here as well as under the tank, or under, excuse me, the fuel lines and under the tank, and put a little bit of spray foam there and a little bit underneath where I kind of re-secured the lines so they're not dragging on the ground for the fuel lines. So finish that up, and then we'll pull back in the garage and get a weld on, and then we'll get one more look. We're gonna hopefully have some fun in a couple days. Just gonna briefly show before I touch up the weld. Here's how I'm gonna get a little bit of a weld pulling the top and bottom together. So just some old bolts. Won't be a super clean weld. If I was really thinking, I would have spray foamed this second, as that will get hot and catch on fire. But I'll just do a little bit at a time and keep an eye on it. I've done it before, just made it a little bit more time consuming. But yeah, shout out again to Noah. He told me, yeah, we put bolts in. Usually they do it sideways, I believe, but I'm just kind of, this is the quickest, most efficient way I can do it. A little bit of time here. I'm also going to touch up the welds that were breaking. Again, this bumper is technically the 5th time, although the 4th full time I get to say we've run this car, and this bumper's been on it. It's the same thing over here. I'll touch up those welds where it's pulling apart. Same thing along the side here where it's kind of cracking, and then I'll just try to get a little bit more of a weld in and along this, so it doesn't break apart. But that's it. Again, not the most efficient way, but, or I shouldn't say not the best way, but it is the most efficient, quick way to get a little bit of a touch-up weld. And then that old Caravan bumper will defend us at least, and then whenever we send her forward, she'll take some shots, I think. So final touch-ups here. We're ready to go. So here's our final look as we are ready to go. We're gonna load her on the trailer soon. Kind of a cloudy day, a little bit of rain in and out. You can see it's gonna be similar at the Derby. Again, we're heading to Tionesta, Wolf's Corners. First time I've ever gone there to Derby. Been there once to watch. It's a harder track. That's why I thought it would be nice with this girl kind of being close to Dragon on the back, a harder surface. And it kind of worked out that this weekend we had no plans. So up front, just to show the last of my, again, just kind of touch up welds here. Again, the metal wasn't clean. It's all bent up, so my welds already aren't great. But you can see how, again, using bolts to try to where it had, again, folded up and back. So I pulled it down with my tow rope in my truck, as I showed, and all that was kind of crushed still, but it was still holding on here. So I just kind of touched up my welds, my original welds, and then I tried to, just like where it was peeling apart here, just put a bolt in there and got a decent weld there. This one over here was really bad. It actually had about a 2.5, 3 inch gap here whenever I pulled it back. So I put some bigger bolts in there, which again gave me the ability to get some decent welds there, as well as patched up just a couple spots. Again, that bumper seen, I think 5 or 6 Derbies now is the front bumper. Again, a Caravan bumper, and I think you can see just how tough they are. It's just at the frame rails there where it's a little weak. But only other thing I did, just beat that fender up a little bit to make sure it's away from the tire, checked all the tire pressure, checked the fuel, checked all the fluids. Otherwise, again, the strut over here is kind of the part of the body here, sheet metal is kind of pushed in between it, so it's got a little bit of a bounce, a funny bounce to it as I drive, but we shouldn't be going big distances in the Derby. So not really sure how much life she has left, but again, the front wheels look bent and all beat up, but that's how they've been from the get-go. Again, it was wrecked, and talked to my buddy, he thinks it's probably the spindle, which these things have tough spindles. It's an 02 Cruiser. So only other thing, again, up front, the spray foam, which I had a can, so I was just kind of going around trying to keep it. Again, I just like to have spray foam around the sheet metal in the corners and the frame rail to just in case you're getting pressed into, put a little bit more around the starter. And then I just secured my wires, which again are behind. They were out here before. That's where it got cut into, and it was folding up. And that's why I blew the fuse. But this one, got it tied in there, spliced up, taped real good. Should be good and secured. And again, under the hood, nothing else. Got our dummy sensor there. Again, got the actual sensor in this one. See it there. Usually I use the pipe plug from AutoZone. Again, that's a lot cheaper and easy to use. You can use it over and over. But otherwise, nothing else under the hood is new. We'll take out that hood support there. There we get there. So again, not sure what she has left, but I said that the last time, and the old girl's stubborn, and she drove all the way back onto the trailer. You can see how the roof, from me not only sitting on it, but how it's been crimpled up. She's beaten, abused, if I can say it right, but I think she's got some fun left in her. So we're gonna head to Wolf's Corner, hopefully have a good time, and we'll see how we finish the Derby season. What a car. 02 PT Cruiser, tough old girl. Throw this in at the end, but this is why you gotta have that pressure release piece if you loop your lines, if you don't know. So I just have water in it right now. I don't have my cup of fabric softener in it with the water. I just put water in it as I was moving around, but I probably had it running for about 7 or 8 minutes and it's starting to get hot. So it has to have that pressure release, just kind of steaming out. Once you have the fabric softener in there during the derby, it's got a lot of kind of a nice plume of smoke to it. Smells nice too as it's venting out, but that's how you keep it from blowing that line. So again, if you don't know, looping the line, you gotta have that piece. Probably like 17 or 18 bucks on Amazon. I've used that one probably a dozen or more times. No issue at all. So here we go.